Good morning. Today we continue our interviews on behalf of the Mirboo North Historical Society, and one of the more famous names in Mirboo North was the Smith family and the Smith family involvement. And today I have the opportunity to talk to third or fourth generation Smith?
Fourth generation.
Fourth generation Smith, Mr. Greg Smith. And Greg will share with us some of his knowledge and stories about his family's involvement in Mirboo North, his own personal experiences and some of his foresight going forward, but also includes some of his current Mirboo North volunteer activities. So Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Proud to be part of it.
Yeah. Well, Greg, you're fourth generation Smith family Mirboo North?
Technically, I'm a Mirboo Smith.
Mirboo Smith. Okay.
Mirboo Smith. So,
Mirboo. All right. Take us back. We'll begin going back. Tell us what you know about how your mum and dad settled in Mirboo North, or were part of Mirboo North community, and your grandparents and what. Take us back as far as you want to.
all my great-grandparents were in the hardware business in Hawthorn. They'd emigrated from England. Decided to go farming out at Rumbug, in the back of Olsen's Bridge. Sold up all their land and premises in Two Brothers. Moved out to Olsen's Road, Mirboo, Ballara South. Went farming. My great-grandfather, my grandfather...
What years were these? Best you can remember.
Best I can remember, I should know the dates, in the 1890s. My grandfather's farm was burnt out in the 1930 fires. My great uncle moved back to Melbourne. My grandfather continued on with farming, married, he was a Smith, John Norman Smith. He married Isabel Patterson, who were local identities out Mirboo. They kept farming until the late 50s, I believe. My father moved into Mirboo North as an apprentice blacksmith at the age of 13, and started up in a blacksmith shop under, can't think of his name. He was a Swedish blacksmith, and then he worked in the service stations, become a mechanic and a fitter and turner.
Right.
My uncle George.
So that's Dad. That's Stan.
Stan. Stan Smith
Stan.
moved into Mirboo North before the war in the early 20s. Started up at the Mirboo service station. Horry Hansen, I think he was the blacksmith he started under. Right. Then moved to the Mirboo service station, which was on the site next door to here. And then he started up his own garage, which is now, I don't know what it is now, opposite the commercial hotel in the main street. And he ran a successful garage, motor mechanic, fitter and turning, welding, just everything that you needed doing in the main street of Mirboo North.
So general motor mechanic.
Yep.
Sold petrol.
Yes. Did repairs.
Repairs. Bit of boiler making.
Yes.
Bit of fitting and turning.
Yep.
And anything else that needed to be done.
Anything else needed. He made trailers for a lot of people. For a lot of the tradespeople in town, he would make trailers. He drove buses for Pincinni's, and the company before Pincinni's took it over. And then when he retired from the garage, he actually went back and drove buses again for Joe Pincinni, who used to be his apprentice.
Okay, so that's a very short overview of your father.
Yep.
Okay. Moved in to Mirboo North, as you said, 19...
Yep, lived in the hostel opposite the kindergarten.
Yes.
Used to be, should know their names, very famous family history people here. They had boarding house at the back. Most people went there. He lived there. He met Mum during the war years in Melbourne when he was in the RAF. They married, then moved up to Mirboo North and lived just down the road here on Old Mardan Road. Had 4 children. I have an elder brother and 2 younger sisters, all born at the Mirboo North Bush Nursing Hospital.
Right, okay. So we've heard a lot about that, Bush Nursing Hospital. So when your dad and mum first came, so your mum met your mother in the RAF, and then they moved here.
Mum moved from Melbourne.
To Melbourne. Must have been quite a shock for her. Did she ever talk about that?
She did say it was a big shock, but she loved the country. She loved gardening, growing their own food. I'm trying to think of the name of the lady's house. The house is still down here, just down past Jenny Edney's house on the right. They lived in there for a long time, and then Dad built a house, brought a block up at Baromie Road, opposite the Forest Commission, cleared that, and built his own house, his own workshops out the back. And we lived up in Baromie Road till the 80s.
Right.
And then I married and moved on out. Well, I didn't move out, I just moved down the road a bit, bought a house in Mirboo North after I got married, and Mum stayed here.
Yeah. So your dad started the family.
Yep.
In Mirboo North after meeting your mother. Came up and lived up at Baromie Road. And Greg and his siblings were growing up in Mirboo North.
Yep.
What was it like to grow up in Mirboo North? Now I'm assuming that you went to Mirboo North Primary School.
Yes, went to Mirboo North Kindergarten, and I'm still proud to say that Mrs. Sue Kerr was my kindergarten teacher.
Oh, Sue was?
Yes.
And we've interviewed Sue.
Yes.
And so she was your kindergarten teacher? Yep.
And all my children's kindergarten teachers.
So in that 33 years, or thereabouts, that Sue was there, you must have been in one of her first classes.
Very early, her eldest son, Michael, was my best friend.
Yep.
We used to knock around together with another guy called Ross Irving and Ian Briscoe. But we were in Sue's kindergarten, and we had a ball.
Okay.
And it was the same kindergarten that's just down on the corner. And we used to play out the front. There was nothing out the back. We all played out the front under the tree.
Yep.
Out where the big tree was, that was the yard. And
Where you went. So okay. During that time, so this was early 1960?
early 60s, yes. I was
Right.
born in 55.
Okay, so 55.
Yep.
60 you're at kindergarten, I'd imagine, or thereabouts. What was it like growing up as a young boy in Mirboo North, and what sort of things were you active in, and what kept Greg Smith amused at that age?
The
As a
ability
young boy.
to go push bike riding anywhere, to go fishing anywhere. We would go fishing down at Moyers Bridge. We'd go out to Berries Creek. Ian Briscoe's father, Maury, had a tip truck business, so he would take us out in the tip truck in the morning and pick us up in the afternoon. The ability to go out to my brother's friends, Neil Edney's, to go rabbit shooting, hiking in the bush, was part of Scouts and Cubs, and the ability to go camping. We had scout camps up Dickies Hill, the back of Dickies Hill.
I'd like to touch on that, on the Cubs and the Scouts.
Yep.
All right. So during that time in Mirboo North, again, I'm saying probably late 60s now.
Yep.
And Scouts for your early 70s or whatever. So that was a really strong community group.
Very strong.
So tell us about that era.
I'm
and what it
trying
was
to think
like
who
being
my
part of it.
first scout leader was, but I know the cub mistress was a lady called Margaret Turra. She used to be Margaret Treese.
Yes.
Isabel Treese's sister.
Margaret Turra is married to John Turra.
Yes, John
Yes,
Turra,
that's right.
who was in the butter factory.
Yep.
So Margie Turra was in charge. She was of the cub pack, and then we moved on to the scout pack group, and we used to meet in the Anglican hall next to the Anglican church. That's where we used to all meet. And then, thanks to a builder and a couple of others, Mr. Moon, they built the scout hall. They raised money, and we used to do paper drives. So Saturday morning paper drives in the back of a trailer behind a ute, just sitting on papers, going around picking up the newspapers. Bob Burdekin was a very big part of that, and Bill Bland. They were both scout commissioners. Bob Burdekin owned the news agency, so we'd pick up newspapers, we'd go and pick up bottles, and it was to raise money to build the existing scout hall.
Okay, so you recycled the paper.
Yep.
And raise the funds, and the scout hall is on. I'll probably get this wrong, but it's either on Crown land or it's on.
Part of the Rec
railroad
Reserve.
Rec Reserve.
Rec Reserve Railway land. There was a bit of a smudge of how come we got there. No one really knows. As I said, we used to meet in the hall. A lot of the time we spent was in the paper shed, which was the ambulance shed, is where the vets live now. Yep. That vacant block there. The ambulance lived in behind Frank Prouse's chemist shop, and he'd move it into a garage behind the shop, and then we'd fill it up with papers, and then the ambulance would come back into there. But I don't know whose land it was. We just thought it was Shire land, but anyway, we got a scout hall, our own dedicated scout hall, and had some fantastic leaders, and we went places and just had a ball.
And the scout hall's still actively in use now today.
Yes.
So, okay, did you advance from just the local scout? Were you?
No, I got into the football club then. Nearly all of us went from scouts when we were all in the football club. Yep. So we played football, went to go on, but just had a passion for playing tennis during summer. Played football during winter. So scouts got pushed back. And then I got into motorcycles. My father made a motorcycle for me, and had a passion for motorcycles. So,
just sounds like a pretty full and ongoing youth.
Look, I consider I grew up in the best time in Australia. We had a lot of freedoms. We kind of knew where the boundaries were when got told. Everyone knew everyone, so you couldn't go anywhere without someone knowing who was there and what. So, but had a lot of freedoms, had a lot of bush, had the swimming pool, and had some very great friends.
Yep.
And had a great childhood.
Let's shift, if I can, to school.
Yep.
Okay. So we've heard about young Greg. You continued your schooling here
at Mirboo North Primary, yes.
And secondary college.
And then on to secondary college.
Was the elementary school then, or was
no,
it?
It was called the high school.
Right.
The elementary school was the primary school. Right. Had some fantastic teachers, put up with a lot. Then went on to the local high school. Had ambitions of going into the RAF. Yep. Couldn't do some of the maths and sciences. Yep. And algebra did me head in. So met up with some fantastic people from the district who we all played football against. So Ballara, Thorpedale. We used to played football over at Carrambara when we were in the South Gippsland League at Leongatha, Carrambara, played over there. And then they formed us into the Mid Gippsland. So then we started playing the people we knew from Thorpedale, Ballara. And that went on until my passion for motorbikes took off, because we could ride anywhere in the bush around here.
Yep.
And
so by this stage, Greg's probably 17?
Yes.
18?
Yes.
Okay. And you were working.
I went for a job with the State Bank of Victoria.
Yep.
And was lucky to be taken on halfway through my matric or Form 6. So I left school in May and joined the State Bank here in Mirboo North, and
Yep.
it was just it had just become a new building. It was a little grey weatherboard cement sheet building, and they just made it into the branch that it is today. On my first day, I got to meet a fantastic man in the name of Stan Hartrick. He was his first day as manager, and it was my first day of starting as a postage clerk.
Okay.
Stan Hartrick was a Walhalla born and bred man, and one of the most influential people beside my uncle, who I got to meet. Taught me a lot of values about the community, about banking, and about society. A very knowledgeable man.
So you were working in the bank as a postage clerk. Everything was by post back then. You know,
Yes.
there was no such thing as emails or whatever. But so everything's labour intensive. How long were you there for?
I was at Mirboo North for about 18 months. The tellers at the time were Gary Grogan, Paul Dyke, Ian Marshall. We had some fantastic times, much to the dismay of Stan.
Right.
We used to collect the money from the post office. So you'd walk up with two guys, one had a pistol. Don't know why they let us have a pistol, but they did. And we'd go up, collect the money, and bring it back.
Right.
So it's interesting times with the money box. It was just a little cardboard box. One of the most early days was Gary Grogan and Paul Dyke were both footballers, so they started to handball the box to each other, and we went up for a ruck, and the box got flicked up onto the roof of which is now the real estate, but that was a butcher shop, Mantock's butcher shop.
Right.
So there was $2,000 or $3,000 sitting up on the roof, and no one knew how to get it down. So we had to go and find a tradie with a ladder. By this time, the manager had got worried that we were taking too long, and he stuck his head out and saw us climbing up on the roof to get the money box back.
Okay.
Total disrespect for the Australian currency.
And I'm sure you got a lecture too.
We got a big lecture.
All right. So, Greg, you're known in our community as one that tinkers in heavy machinery.
Yes.
Okay. And you've had a few career changes. But just before we get on to that, there's a young man, you're in 20s and 30s. Where does your love interest come in there?
My love interest, I was lucky to meet my wife at school.
That's Robin, yep.
Robin. She'd come in from Morwell. She lived at Yanar South. My love of tennis at that time was enhanced because I played for Boromey Tennis Club. So we played all the local districts to the west of the town. The Mirboo Tennis Club, there was two tennis clubs, they played to the east. So to play against Robin's team at Yanar, you had to go to Mirboo Tennis Club. But I stayed with Boromey, which we used to have the tennis court behind the Neil Jenny Edney's house.
Yep.
Up in that flat there was the Anglican tennis courts. So I met Robin through school, and that just blossomed into.
Okay, so you met the love of your life at school.
Yes.
And you sort of that interest grew through school and through tennis.
Through tennis, yes, through sport. Yeah, the tennis, we'd started up the badminton clubs. There was table tennis. We used to play table tennis over at the rec in the old army huts. I just loved racket sports. My uncle and my father were both tennis people. just loved that type of sport. At that stage, I had left Mirboo North. I'd been transferred to Melbourne in the bank.
Right.
Hated it with a passion. Could not stand Melbourne. Couldn't wait to get out. So I quit. And I was lucky to pick up a job back in Mirboo North here at Telecom, at the PMG. It was the PMG when I first started, then it became Telecom in the depot.
So we're talking now probably early 80s?
Yes, I started in 74.
Okay.
74 in the bank. 77 I went to Telecom.
Okay.
And started as a cable joiner. Started first off as an aerial, working on the aerial wires that were in the district with the aerial gang, with Alan Snell, Laurie Reynolds, Wooden Shields, George Snell, John McDonald, he was the foreman. Stan Rita.
So there's a mischievous group.
Entertaining. It's but they were dedicated to getting the phone service on. I'll give them their due. They were a mischievous group, but they didn't mind hard work. And so then I left the aerial group and I became what we call a cable joiner, telephone installer.
Yep.
So I worked on underground cables. So we were pulling down a lot of the aerial wires, and our district ran from Foster North out to Allenby Reserve, to Ballara, to Narracon. We had a big area.
Okay. So in the 70s,
Yep.
Greg's starting to establish his own career.
Yes.
Your father, Stan, was...
Yes. Dad was still going in the 70s. Probably the biggest downturn for Dad's business was when the street got widened. The street used to be a lot narrower, and they took off, I think it was 8 metres of the front of his shop.
Yeah.
And he never really recovered from that. Everything got pushed into one corner, so his garage wasn't a free-flowing working shop. It was quite muddled and all over the place. But he kept all his lathes and his fitter and turnering, and that was what he swung into. He went out of cars and went into fitter and turnering, working for a lot of stuff for the water board.
Right.
And welding. He was a very competent welder. He loved doing repairs on motorboats, making propellers, repairing propellers. He could bronze weld, and he had a real art for that from his blacksmithing. But so then Dad retired in the late 70s and just part-time, and then drove buses for Joe Pincini.
Yeah.
But
And toured all around the place.
he sold his premises to Russell Grady. So Russell ran the tractor shop in the town. And then Russell moved out to there, and then it became Dennis Smith, plumber, and Rod Hotcraft's shop. And then they sold it, I think, to the current owners.
Yep.
But Dad's garage was across there. The Bowsers were on the street, so you could earn money after school and that pumping petrol. And you used to get a halfpenny or things like that. That's how you used to get your money.
So your family's operating in Mirboo North. You've seen the differences, and in other interviews we've tackled the widening of the streets and all those sorts of things. So Greg and Robin married when?
Married in 1979.
Right.
Moved into, it used to be a little Firebro hut I was renting at the time from Frank Prowse, behind where the Vets is at the moment. It's only just been dismantled. Lived in there, and then brought a house in Baromie Road. Used to be Marge Smith's, which used to be John Turra's. Originally John Turra had it, then Marge Smith brought it when she moved off the farm, and then Robin and I brought that, and lucky to have brought up 3 boys, Daniel, Shane and Adrian, in that house in Baromie Road, a little 10.5 square house.
Yep.
Had a ball there, and then through friendships with Dennis and Diane Smith, we heard about Chiller's Farm being for sale out on Old Thorpedale Road, and in the mid to late 80s, we moved out to Old Thorpedale Road to 30 acres.
And during that time, Greg, am I right in saying that you started to build an interest in machinery, heavy machinery?
The powers to be in telecom decided to shut down the Mirboo North depot.
Yep.
And said that that was part of this centralisation, that we could work out of Warrigal more efficient than we could out of Mirboo North. I didn't like that idea. I wasn't travelling to Warrigal to turn around and travel back to Mirboo North every day. They wouldn't let us leave our vehicles here, so I resigned and I'd been interested in earth moving gear through Maury Briscoe and his son Ian. Yep. They had sand pits, so used to be out there on loaders and dozers. So I went to the SEC to get tickets to drive machinery, because the DLI had just started up and you had to have tickets to drive machinery.
Yep.
So I went to the SEC to be trained in driving earth moving gear, and it just opened up, the SEC just opened up my eyes to a whole new world of mining, and just fell in love with mining straight away, and stayed.
Okay.
So
this mining.
Yep.
Obviously power station.
Yes, it was winning coal, removing overburden and winning coal for power station, for power generation. The SEC, one man looked after everything from mining, from exploration to mining, to power generation to distribution. Some very impressive people worked there. It had its flaws, but I loved it. I just loved being part of an industry that did so much for the state, in my view. It had its problems, but there was a lot of interesting people there. But the SEC allowed you to be anything you wanted to be. If you were prepared to train and to work, the SEC would support you in any industry, and it was a world within a world. There was every trade in the SEC, and you could be anything you wanted to be.
So would it be fair to say then that over your time with the SEC, you went through different phases, and so what was your favourite phase?
Favourite phase? It had to be working out on the overburden dumps, so being a dozer driver, dumping the material, the waste that we couldn't burn, covering it up and just building mountains, to dredges, to driving the bucket wheel excavators.
Which are the big dredges?
Which is a big dredge. It's the biggest ones in the southern hemisphere. At Loy Yang, I ended up being an operator in Loy Yang, and it was just unbelievable the amount of material that you could move with these machines, and to operate them. How it was 4 men, started off 4 men, then it went down to 2 men to operate these machines that were bigger than the MCG. And we supplied coal power to the state of Victoria, which was booming. It just had a love of earth moving gear, and they had all types. So it was a big boys sand pit.
Okay, so here's Greg Smith, found himself the job that he probably wanted when he was 6 years old.
Yes.
Okay, so you're into that. You're raising your own family.
Yes.
Your 3 boys, and you're also active in the community.
Yes.
Okay, we've talked about scouts and other things. Where did your journey with community work continue?
Well, it started with the football club and the tennis club. It was part of the office bearers in those organisations. The scouts, not so much. In the SEC, I saw how much the SEC did for communities. So I thought, well, that was interesting. The SEC, they did a lot of community work. After the Ash Wednesday fires, I thought I'd try the fire brigade, but I couldn't give the time as I was on shift work. So then I just had, then because of my interest in badminton, table tennis, we got on the committee that got the gymnasium built, thanks to the principal, Trevor Steer, from the high school at that time. He had some influence, and he got that, did the best we could at the time to get the gymnasium up for basketball, badminton, table tennis. Up there, I was part of the committee that ran that in the early days, with some other likewise people in the town. And then my community efforts kind of waned because of my work commitments and my family. And they basically come back in where my uncle, George, who was a prominent Freemason in the town, and I knew of a lot of the things that he'd been a shire councillor, a president, he'd been on a lot of committees, and he introduced me to Freemasonry, and then I met a lot of the other town, who I considered the town leaders and town people who were very community minded. The Jepsons, the Pearts, the Jackers, they seemed to be behind Bob Burdekin, Bert Kerr, Ray Shimpinski. They seemed to be behind every community establishment we had, from the ambulance to the fire brigade, to the swimming pool, to the tennis clubs, to a lot of the churches. They were the shakers and movers behind it. And I thought, wow, how do these guys do this? And it was just their commitment to community. And I thought, wow, I like that. I probably then became more very community orientated when the Commonwealth Bank did the dirty on the town and closed the branch. Was part of the steering committee to get banking back into Mirboo North. We were headed by Frank Krause, and there was 10 of us. After a public meeting, 10 of us put our hands up to get community bank. Lou Remington, Gardner, he was a cricketer. Anyway, got on a committee. Peter Gardner, sorry. And I couldn't believe the effort that he and Lou put in and where they went. Nancy Castellano. So they was part of that committee. And then we moved on and we tried to get the banking, and that was 2 years. We met every night for 2 years trying to get a bank back in Mirboo North. It was a lot of hard work, and we couldn't get the community bank that we wanted. So we got an agency. So then I joined the co-op. We formed the co-op with Les Perry, Colin Keel, trying to think of the others. There's quite a few others. And then I went on to the board of management for the agency. Okay. So I was on both boards with Rod Cadell, Peter Gardner, and we ran the agency, the Bendigo Bank agency, and we were one of the first agencies in Australia under the Bendigo banner to have an ATM. That was our charter: 5-day banking and an ATM. So, thanks to some friendly politicians at the time, we got a bank back up and running within 12 months. Okay. And it was fantastic. I stayed on those committees until the agency was sold to the current Strzelecki board, and I'm in nothing but awe of that committee getting a community bank up and running. Yep. Like the work that had to be done behind the scenes. People just don't appreciate it, what it took to get a bank here. I'm very proud of that I was part of it. For 10 years we ran the agency with the vision of getting a community bank. So,
which is now well and truly established.
Well, and that's thanks to the people like Peter Gardner, Rob Cadell, Gordon Burdekin, Colin Keel, a whole list of others.
Which is my understanding, since its conception, has put back over $2 million
Yes.
into our community,
Yes.
and was a heavy contributor to the recent upgrade of the swimming pool.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's such a wonderful history of projects and things that you've been involved in Mirboo North. So during all that time, Mirboo North shifted from being a prominent town
Yes.
servicing
Yes.
a lot of small farmers
Yes.
to a town that's been described as adjusting to the broader corporation farming.
Yes, it did. We had all the industries here, like the Forest Commission, the Lands Department, the Butter Factory, the Shire, the PMG, the Water Board. We were self-sufficient.
Yep.
A self-sufficient little town. Everyone knew everyone, and everything got things done. And then after the amalgamations and the centralisations of things, our town diminished. Lost a lot of our employment opportunities in the town. You know, we had 5 garages in town, 3 banks, the hospital. But we lost a lot of those things. We had to readjust as the world around us adjusted, and we became like a dormitory town. But there were still shakers and movers in the town that wanted more and remembered the better day, what I class as the better days of the town. So we've had to adjust. We are a residential town, but we've still got a very nucleus of volunteers prepared to say we want a better lifestyle for our children here. And they're still working on that, and I believe they're succeeding. But we've had to change from an industrialised town with our own identities and businesses to what we are today.
Okay. So what would you say is some of the major opportunities and challenges of Mirboo North going forward?
The biggest challenge is housing. We seem to be running out of land to get more development. A lot of development went ahead, a lot of people moved in, but we've run out of land for more buildings. That is hamstrung by our infrastructure, our lack of, I feel, my personal planning of our infrastructure, our major infrastructure is at its capacity, and to go the next step, governments, Shire, have got to put a lot of money into our infrastructure, our water board, our sewage farm, to go the next step to become. Our roads are a disgrace compared to our old Shire. I've never seen roads break up so much. But yeah, it's the lack of infrastructure, forethought in infrastructure in the town. We still have people that are prepared to push that along, and we need those people. Otherwise the town can stagnate very quickly.
Yeah.
And you can see that with some of the other little satellite towns around us, where infrastructure has stopped and the town has stopped, and then it kind of declines because you lose your facilities. And that's one of the big things that I feel that we've got to stop losing our facilities, like our gymnasium. It's easy, it can be done, and you only have to look at the pool committee. We were going to lose a major infrastructure benefit of the town, the pool. And thanks to some very dedicated people, can't think of them enough. We have one of the best looking pools in the town, in the area.
Yes.
And we've still got a lot of, over at the rec reserve, that's the golf club. That's the things that bring people to the town. And when you talk to people that have moved in here, why'd you come here? Oh, you've got facilities, you've got the infrastructure that we like. You've got banking, you've got schools, you've got kindergartens. They've got the things that young families want. We just need better transport. But
So
Yeah.
during your career and your involvement in a broad range of Mirboo North community organisations, you know, from
Yep.
sporting to Freemasonry, which
Yep.
you've held significant
Yes.
leadership roles in, and to the business and business community in Mirboo North. Going forward, the challenges you've tackled, but if by royal decree you have been made Prime Minister for one day, and part of that deal is Greg Smith has the opportunity to make one big decision that's going to be lasting. What does Greg see that would benefit Mirboo North and broader community if you are able to achieve it?
To me, it would be the transport. I believe in rail. To me, rail is a very major part of infrastructure. And even though we have a fantastic rail trail, which brings a lot of people here, I would bring better transport, and I prefer to see rail, but it will never happen. But just a better transport and public transport for people of this town. That's the major thing I see lacking for this town. The improvements to the water supply and the sewage system is another thing, but to me, transport, public transport to this town. We do have a bus every hour, but more people
it's
would
about
come.
3 times a day, isn't it? Also?
3 to 4 times a day
Yeah.
between Traralgon and one thing. But I would improve the transport through the town, to the town, because we are in between two satellite areas of the Trove Valley and South Gippsland, Leongatha to the south, Morwell and Traralgon to the west. We're on a major road system through the town, and when that road is stopped, everything stops in South Gippsland. So we've got to improve our transport, our public transport to the town, and our road network.
Okay.
That's what I would improve in Mirboo North.
Greg, the interview today, as we discussed, will be seen and will be held in by the Historical Society, and your great-grandchildren are watching it in 20, 30 years' time, and they're looking at great-grandfather and all that, as we've talked about. What are the words of wisdom that you would like to impart on those young people? And it doesn't have to be yours, but the young people, the younger community of Mirboo North going forward. What are the things that you value the most?
What I value?
The lessons of life.
Lessons of life. A sense of belonging to community, a sense of fairness, for them to be around the people that are making this town better for everyone. Not so much self-centred people, but people who are prepared to give to the whole community. I would ask my grandchildren to be around those type of people, and they do stand out. Some of them are very quiet, and I know in Freemasonry a lot of them were very quiet behind the scenes. It's only when I became involved in history and Freemasonry I found out that the town leaders of the past were very quiet about doing things behind. No one knew who did what. They are recognised and by street names, but to be around the people that can make a difference in your town and be part of that group that can make a difference in your own town, because we've got a fantastic town, in my opinion. So,
Well, Greg, can I thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today?
thank you, Joe.
And I look forward to hearing more about your efforts in our great community. Well done, son.